Joining us now for Word Brief and the review of some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is Adefemi Akinsanya. Good morning, Adefemi.
Good morning, Dr. Rubin. Good morning, Ayo. Good morning, Rufai. How's everybody doing?
Yeah, we're good.
You're doing good?
Yeah.
Well, I guarantee you're not doing as good as me because yesterday, Arsenal won the North London derby. So North London is very much red and we're very, very happy about that. Alrighty. Let's start with our world brief. And former President Donald Trump is safe following gunshots in his vicinity after an incident took place near his Florida golf club on Sunday. The FBI says it's investigating what appears to be an attempted assassination of Donald Trump. It's the second such attack in 9 weeks. Secret Service agents spotted the barrel of a rifle poking through some bushes and opened fire at him, according to officials. The FBI said Trump was 300 to 500 yards away at the time, and that an AK-47 style firearm and scope, along with 2 backpacks and a GoPro camera, were later found at the scene. A witness reported seeing the suspect running from some bushes and jumping into a black Nissan car after the agents had fired at multiple times. Now, the suspect has been identified as Ryan Wesley Routh. His son, Oran Routh, did release a statement to the press saying that his father is a caring and hardworking man and hopes that things have not been blown out of proportion. President Joe Biden released a statement, as did Vice President Kamala Harris. Both are relieved, they say, to know that Trump is safe and have been briefed on the situation at the White House. That's what they've told us. Now, before I come to my great colleagues for comment, let's move on to some other stories now. And 8 people, sadly, have died overnight while trying to cross the Channel from France to England. The rubble vessel had around 60 people on board from countries including Eritrea, Sudan, Syria, as well as Iran. And this comes no less than 2 weeks after 12 people, including 6 children and a pregnant woman, died when a boat carrying dozens of migrants sank in what was the deadliest loss of life in the Channel this year. Foreign Secretary David Lammy says that it's been awful to hear of further loss of life in the Channel. But he also says that in his efforts, they will be trying to prosecute the people smuggling these migrants into these boats and is ensuring that there will be stiff punishments for this type of behavior. Lastly, if we move on to the African continent now, and 37 people, including 3 Americans, a Briton, a Belgian, and a Canadian national, have been sentenced to death over an attempt to overthrow the president of the Democratic Republic of Congo. The men were accused of leading an attack on both the presidential palace and the home of an ally of President Felix Tshisekedi in May. Now, Christian Malanga, a U.S. national of Congolese origin, who is the suspected leader of this plot, was actually killed during the attack, along with 5 others. In total, 51 people were tried in a military court with hearings broadcast on national television and radio. Of the 51 people tried, 14 were acquitted and freed, with the court finding they had no connection to the attack. Those who have been convicted have 5 days to appeal against their sentences. Now, looking at Congo specifically, death sentences have not actually been carried out in the country for roughly 2 decades. Convicts who usually receive that penalty serve life imprisonment instead. However, we do have quotes from the government saying that this is a grave situation that needs a grave consequence. My colleagues, what are your thoughts?
So a couple of things. I totally condemn this constant attacks on the lives of Donald Trump. It is very sad. Hate has no place in politics. This Roth man was said, to have been one of those that went to Ukraine and they saw the situation of things on ground there, and he has been constantly against Trump and, probably what Trump envisaged is going to do in Ukraine. It is very sad that the only way, and it's a sign of weakness, that the only way you can have your grouse at a candidate that doesn't believe in you is to try to go to his golf course and plan to shoot him dead, which is very sad. And kudos to the Secret Service agents that spotted the nozzle of the gun on time and shot at that area and cleared, the problem. I hope he's safe. And in fact, we've had words from J.D. Vance and the likes that they've called Trump, and Trump is doing all right. and both candidates, I'm sure I've also reached out to him. I'm talking about Biden and Harris, and more security is going to be put around him. But the reason they said they didn't cordon that off that area totally was because he's not president, but now they have to put extra security layers around Trump. Also, after saying that, we must also warn the Trump campaign to stop the hate. After they're killing the dogs, they're eating the cats rhetoric, attacks against Haitians in Springfield has increased. There have been bomb threats and all of that. Hate does not have any place in the world.
Indeed.
You can't run the world with hate. And as regards what happened in Congo, it is not today we've had people constantly planning coups and everything. The government of Felix Tshisekedi might try to take it very hard line. Some of them were even killed in the shootout that happened before. But probably they might be able to get some level of clemency if they plead for it. But it's a grave offense they've committed. And down with the days where we used to have coups to topple governments. Again, it's another very weak and terrible way to be able to solve a problem.
Indeed.
The best way is through democratic means. That's it. I would always support that.
Agreed.
Absolutely. All right, so for Trump, really sad to see how, unfortunately, this election cycle is degenerating into a number of people wanting... I mean, the first question that came to mind, who is after President Donald Trump's life? But beyond that is just a profile on the man himself who attempted to assassinate Donald Trump. The man is said to be, he has been against Trump in his ex-posts, was supporting Haley. Interestingly, he's a Republican, but not in support of Trump. And then also that he has been quite vocal on his ex-posts about what he thinks about Donald Trump, asking people not to vote. And so maybe it's now time during these elections to really X-ray. So it's just that balance, though, about really X-raying what people post up on their personal socials. Some things sound very passionate and calling for, we must bring down Kremlin, very, very, very extreme language being used. And then to people, then the freedom of expression. And maybe we begin to flag these posts, seeing that this is the second attempt in a very short period of time. So beyond that now, of course, it's the outcome for Trump himself. He might get some sympathizers, as he would, and also the fact that maybe more protection. I do agree very much with the rhetorics during this election. Sometimes in speaking these things, it's a two-edged sword. You're gaining people who are make America great again, but you're also raising radicals who can then go to the other side and become quite extreme. I hope that he would continue to remain safe and that his security would improve at this time. Beyond that, the question of the channel, I've spoken about this the first time we had the initial stories. Now, what this raises is the immigration policy of the United Kingdom. France, a number of people have accused the immigration policy as being too lax, hence the attraction for people who would risk their lives to cross the channel to go into the United Kingdom. And so, I don't know, I mean, for me, in light of intolerance, I talked about in the past about people crossing and immigration, it might just very well affect immigration policies in the UK where they will make it more stringent and also make jobs for immigrants even a bit more difficult. That's the challenge. But
okay, the key story about the migration problem in the United Kingdom, you said 8 people died. Before now, 53 people were rescued when a boat was ripped open, and including a 10-month-old child. This year, in the last 3 months, about 101 persons have tried to cross the channel. So it's a major challenge for the Labour government, as it was for the Conservatives. But the latest story is that Prime Minister Keir Starmer is meeting today with Giorgia Meloni, the Prime Minister of Italy. And, he's trying to look at the option that has been taken by the far-right, government in Italy, which is what they call offshore processing of asylum seekers. Italy has a system where, they interface with Tunisia, Libya, with Albania, just keep the asylum seekers away. So that will be the major subject on the table today when Keir Starmer meets with Giorgia Meloni. However, in England, there are persons who are saying, look, Keir Starmer should not bring into England hard right policies, even in trying to address migration problems. That after all, this was the kind of challenge that they had with the Rwanda asylum project. However, the British cabinet is saying, no, we are not only looking at Albania. We will look at Tunisia. We will look at Libya. Let them do offshore processing. Stay out. Don't just come here to prevent the kind of embarrassment that we face.
Right.
About the United States, what are the key issues? The key issue is that violence is a major specter in this election. Already, we have the presidential candidates hiding behind security walls, security booths, when they address people. We have seen increasingly that in the United States, if you seek the highest office in the land, you are not safe. Okay? But in this particular case, the gentleman, Routh, 58 years old, has not said anything. He has remained silent. But the truth that we're being told is that, well, Trump remains very confident. He says he thanks the security service. He says he will not be defeated. He's very confident. So, but there may be undesirable political consequences as a result of this. As for Democratic Republic of Congo, there was a coup attempt in May. Malaga, who left that coup attempt, was killed in the process. Now you have persons having been sentenced to death by Judge Freddie Iwuma, that's his name. But, they didn't have a death penalty in Congo before now, the past 20 years.
Right.
They reintroduced it early this year. But, the convicted persons are entitled to go on appeal. And then we'll see how that appeal works out. But the American government says, well, we're watching the developments closely. They have refused to intervene directly. You only have people from the embassy intervening. But Democratic Republic of Congo has problems even larger than elections, larger than natural resources.
Correct. Insecurity and all of that. I'm glad you mentioned what was happening in the United Kingdom. We will actually get into that during our newspaper review, which begins now. If we take a look at our Nigerian papers first, and of course looking at the front page of This Day, its headline leads with a quote from the federal government via Finance Minister Wale Edun, who says the lifting of petrol at the Dangote refinery marks the return of industrialization after the NNPC is able to lift 16.3 million litres from the Dangote refinery. The NNPC has set its price at 950 naira per litre in Lagos, while in Borno, the price is set at 1,079 naira per litre for this Dangote fuel. Now, the confirmation of the naira for crude arrangement has been lauded as a push towards, as you were mentioning earlier, energy self-sufficiency in Nigeria, which is definitely a cause for celebration for both Aliko Dangote and the federal government. You have the likes of Femi Otedola, for example, saying that fuel scarcity in Nigeria is over. However, as you were also mentioning in your segment beforehand, it's really down to the consumer now to hear what their thoughts are. Clearly, we can imagine what they're thinking, especially when it looks about this price situation and whether they are too excited about this historic moment. If we look at The Guardian continues with this confusion over pricing. It's the lead story on the front page. Its article goes on to say that the NNPC has insisted on 898 naira per litre, which excludes associated costs. Now, Dangote's chief branding and communications officer says a formal announcement on pricing will come soon, but he did confirm that the current stock of crude purchased was done in US dollars. So there's a lot of back and forth, which is also picked up by The Punch. It leads with the pricing of fuel and this back and forth as the Dangote refinery supplies 16 million litres. And the New Telegraph, if we take a look at that takes a look at the aviation industry now and how it's faring with foreign exchange scarcity. The paper says operators are being forced to, quote, cannibalize disused planes for parts as carriers face this existential threat. Now, operators have also been complaining about the gouging in the pricing of spare parts, and they say that it's this situation of high maintenance costs which has led to 60% of aircrafts on offshore maintenance unable to return. The Daily Trust now, it has been staying with the Maiduguri flood with news that 400 million naira had been budgeted for the Alao Dam in 4 years. Governor Zulum says the dam had been neglected for years. And a report also quoted in the Daily Trust article says that the defects at that dam were discovered 9 years ago. In the meantime, fears are growing over the risk of waterborne diseases and, of course, the treatment of women and girls at these IDP camps. Let's take a look at some African papers. The Daily Graphic of Ghana says that the presidential quest begins with 24 candidates vying for the highest office in the land. As we know, Ghana will head to the polls this December. I think it's December 7th is their election day. And lastly, Dr. Rubin, as you were mentioning, the UK Guardian leads with Keir Starmer being accused of seeking to copy the far right on migration. That's as the UK Prime Minister is supposed to be meeting Italy's Giorgia Meloni in Rome. So, very quickly. Yes.
I know you can bear me witness.
Okay, so just 30 seconds, because we're out of time.
A couple of months ago, I told you that Keir Starmer would bungle the UK. He had no plan. And I have been justified again. This was the same man that said Keir Starmer's Rwanda plan that was about to start was not good enough. Sunak's Rwanda plan was not good enough because of human rights issue and all of that. He's going that same way. He's not being able to fix the economy. He's not being able to fix anything. And real quickly, I just want to make one comment about Trump. Please, somebody should tell Elon Musk that he cannot set America on fire. Elon Musk was asking, why is it that Biden or Harris have not been assassinated or attempts of assassination have not been made on their lives? That man with the media is a dangerous tool.
All right, well, Adefemi, thank you so much for your time with us. Always a good, a good session with you. See you next week.